o'clock, we'll call the meeting in order. Citizens. No need to adjust or
I
anything.
do, actually.
Okay.
I would like to add discussion on the garage note.
Or A.
Yeah, we can do 4A. All right, 444. Discuss possible approval of allocation fund to the community development funds.
So last year in December, we did a resolution, putting any of the remaining ARPA funds into the general fund to cover expenses of during COVID. We currently have available 172,564.66 from that to, we can move it from the general fund into the community development fund and infrastructure fund. I think we talked about this last year, but we never voted to put it in this fund. Nor could we at the time.
Any comments, concerns, or what is your pleasure?
So you said we can move those into the general fund?
It's in the general fund now. It can be moved into the community development infrastructure fund, which would go a long way. Say, and just off the top of my head, if we get a structures grant for, and we don't know until April, for 200,000 to redo a culvert up on 20 Mile Stream. And since we don't know what we're gonna get, we're not budgeting the 20% match, which could come from this fund if we get that grant. Or, to be honest, if any grant pops up, whether it's sidewalks or infrastructure, you have that available. A little extra.
So what was the amount again? 172,000?
Yeah, 564.66. They'll be moving from the general fund to the community development infrastructure fund.
It's 564.
Five. Was
You get it?
I'll make the motion. We allocate the funds to the community development fund from the general budget. General fund, $172,564.66.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? 4A,
Was it-
town grossman.
So on Friday, we were going through this with the bank. Just trying to get all these schedules down for the different notes we have out there. And the existing garage note that we had just redid, because it's 5-year, and then 5 years at 5.75 fixed, and every 5 years you go with the next interest rate. That's why our payment went up from 31,000 to 37. In 2020, we got like 2.9 or something. Now we're at 5.75. So we could keep that, roll the dice in fiscal year 2031, I bet it's gonna be lower. Or we've been offered a 15-year fixed at the 5.75. The way it looks now, and I mean, it's gonna be about the same pay that we have currently. Because it'll be fixed, but that one I didn't feel comfortable without coming back to the board. That's quite different. I don't really know, because it's 5.75 isn't the greatest.
But it's better than
5
7.
years, I don't know if it's 6 1/4. For budgeting purposes, keeping it at 5.75, we know what it is every year. But it is a risk because if they did go down,
But you
it's
can always,
possible we
you
could
can
refinance.
refinance it.
it's possible we could refinance it. They would have to go decently lower. And it probably won't hit the 2.9 again anytime soon. But if we stick with what we currently have, which is resetting after 5 years, there's really nothing to do. But if we want to go to the 15-year fixed, we would just have it on a future meeting. They'll draw up some paperwork and
What's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we move to the fixed rate.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
I think that's the right thing. And I wish I could tell you what the future is gonna hold, but if I did, I'd be retired by now.
We will move on to 5, work on the budget.
Now we get into the fun stuff. So this budget, as it currently sits, is, you can see at the last page, or one of the last pages, and it's in red, it's up 4.42%. From last year's. Which is about 3.3 cents per hundred. Basically like $82 a year on a $250,000 house. As it currently sits. So that just gives us a reference for when we go through the rest of it on about where we're at. I think it's I didn't highlight anything in green and red this year because most of them were all pretty close. So we can go through each section down through and talk about them. That works.
Yeah, that works.
Yep.
Everybody?
I can just talk about any of the bigger increases that we have, which in the first part, we don't other than wages. Which this budget for a placeholder number is off of 5% raise across the board. Which I got projections of 3%. I think it's actually at 2.7 is the cost of living expenses going up. I guess that would be the first part of discussion if we want to go into it. And I mean, quick math, each 1% difference in that raise drops the total increase or decrease of the budget about 0.2%. So instead of 4.42, 4.22-ish with every 1% difference in that. We can save that for a later discussion too, but that's what this is built off. 5%. And everything else is pretty right on the mark of what we've been doing.
Speaking of electric, how's the solar panel thing?
Better. And when I get into electric, I'll explain a little bit more
So,
where we, and I own up to some of that. But right now, currently, the solar panel is working as intended.
Are we good with the town management
Yes.
end of the budget? Are we good with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll move to the town office.
This is all pretty much
Just,
the same. We did get a new copier this year, which you'll see later. I moved that down a little bit. That 3,600 will cover the current lease that we have on this with the maintenance contract. There wasn't a big difference between lease and full-on purchase, so I think we're kind of better off leasing it and not ending up with a machine that's 25 years old by the time we're done. See if there's any. Everything else is pretty similar. I will. Do kind of want to bring up the secretarial assistant currently now. That's budgeted there, whether or not this is gonna need to be a full-time position or not. We really don't know what's gonna happen with treasurer, clerk. We just don't know. So without knowing for sure, it's not budgeted as a full-time position, but and Gladys might even be interested in full-time and, but I haven't had that discussion with her. But with Diane leaving, I think that might need to be getting more help in here. But we could be pretty close with it. And that goes for health insurance too. I mean, if you hire a full-time person, it is health, take health insurance, it adds up quite a bit more. And neither one of those full-time are in this budget. And I don't know if you should budget for it because we don't know if we're going there yet. But I just want to make everybody aware. Everything else on the first page still is right. Kind of right where we normally are. Biggest thing we have that I wanted to talk about is under office utilities as well, under electric. Took quite a while doing the math. Our solar field is producing enough to cover the solar note. The problem lies a little bit on my end as well. If we didn't budget enough for the actual electric usage of everything of where it was supposed to be, not what we were paying, then the difference is what we were using to come up with a number of how much the solar was doing, but it's not. I mean, I went on and ran a report from the solar and did the kilowatt hours and the calculation, and it was right around just shy of $29,000. That's what we've produced to save this year, which happens to be right where the solar note is. It's not making us any, but we're not losing anything on it either. So each one of these ones in electric, you'll see that, we budgeted a certain amount, used an actual, but yet I've risen the amount, and that's why. It's better to better reflect what we're actually using for electric without the discount. Of course, water and sewer went up a little bit. Heating fuel, I can't imagine is gonna go down.
What's that furnace?
Good right now.
It was giving you a problem?
What's that?
It was giving you a problem?
Had some work done on it. I'm trying to remember what he came in and did for that $2,400. We can look that up because I don't really remember them putting in that amount of work in. Oh, that furnace.
I think it was the heat pumps, actually, because we don't have a separate
Okay,
category for
That's
the
right.
heat pumps.
yeah,
And they needed new
they needed quite a little bit of work.
coolant or something. and
Yeah.
Pipes and,
And they had to come in this year because they were leaking.
Okay.
So are we sure $200 is enough? Because one little thing goes wrong, and it's gonna be over that.
It's gonna be over that in a hurry. Now, we have this MERP grant as well that's coming in, and we're still identifying everything. Which is, there is no match to this one, it's 100%, they're coming in, they will be doing. They'll be putting in heat pumps in the water and the sewer just to knock down their costs as well. And they're doing some work on these and then new lighting and new insulation. So I think. But you're right, it's, that $200 is pretty much somebody come in and service the boiler, not if there's damage to something. No, we can always. Yeah, one little thing goes wrong and it's chewed up and gone. I mean, I don't even think that $1,000 is unreasonable. But
We want to change that, do
we can change that to 1,000 if that's,
we? Yeah, good with everybody, change that to 1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
that gets you closer if something goes wrong. Mm. I did not put that in here. And I meant to, if you, when you go into building maintenance, we had talked about a little bit. Before about cameras, we didn't vote on them, but I got a number of around, it was 12,500-ish for the cameras, for outside cameras in this building. That is minus any inside wiring that they would need, so it's gonna be probably around 15,000. They didn't give us a hard quote because it was kind of a tentative quote. And then a $500 a year cloud service, the same as we have at like the garage. So you'd be able to go back and look at those cameras, and I told them basically 2 cameras. It's 4-sided building. They could have one over there pointing this way, one pointing, the other ways. I didn't put that in here. I meant to put it in and highlight it, and whether we wanted it or not. But, let me pull that up so I give you the actual numbers. Yeah, how many times I email her back for? Yeah, it's the open eye network. So just the cameras and the outdoor stuff without the indoor wiring was $10,701. I'm assuming it's gotta be right around 15-ish by the time you would put them in, and they ran and drilled the holes, ran the wires back into here. I think 15 would cover it. And then $500 annually for the for a standard 1-year subscription. I guess that's up for discussion on whether or not we want to add that for the next meeting. Then we could always, if we want to say, why would talk to take it out or put it, leave it in. I can always add it in about, I'd say 15.
I'm sorry, was that Countryside or somebody else?
This is Royal Group. They're the ones, same ones that do our garage.
No, we haven't had any problems since we put them in the garage.
No, they work good at the garage. I can click on it at any time, and the subscription's nice. When the town truck was stolen there last year, we could scroll through it and see right when the lights turned on and it drove away. Problem is, that truck was parked so far away from the cameras.
Right.
Couldn't see anybody, but I mean, we could scroll back through and see when it happened. Which is kind of nice. And we have full access to that and can share that video. So once you get them in, that $500 a year is well worth the $500 a year.
Want to discuss that in the next meeting?
Yep, and if you want, I can put it in and highlight it in yellow,
Yeah,
and then,
everybody good with this so far with the town office?
Yeah.
Do you watch this? Minor.
pretty minor. We're gonna have midterms this year, but I think we can still cover it within that 2,500. You can see though. We don't tend to use the full 2,500 on a regular year.
Good.
From general services. We might as, if it's all right with everybody, if we go right to cemeteries, and then we can go into the back of this where the breakout for cemetery budget is. I think it's on the second to last page. Really, it's down a little bit, and the only reason being is 3,000 less for wages. Whether or not that could go a little bit more or not, I'm not sure. As you know, last year, grass didn't grow, it was a little dry. We didn't use a lot, but that's not to say we're not gonna be mowing a lot this coming year. And that's probably the biggest difference in why it's down a couple $1,000.
Mhm.
We are still looking for sexton. I do have, hoping to have 2 people to come to the January board meeting with. Currently have 1 that's written to us, but hoping for 2 or 3 by the time we get there. Little bit more in revenue on that, but really not much.
Something that I'd like to see added into that at some point. Maybe it's gonna have to be a little bit each year, is the fence by the road. It's
Which,
in disrepair,
the one on the,
cut off road or what, is that what?
so
Hooker.
we went, last year. Somebody approached me and asked if he could donate a brand new, 3-post white fence down through there. I said, absolutely. Still working on that. I picked it out with him late, this fall a little bit. He wanted me to see it. Hoping for spring installation of that. But I haven't heard from him in a little while. But yeah, I think we're gonna take down the fence and haul it away. The highway guys are to save, that was about $9,000 to save. I think the total fence cost is around $16,000 to $18,000 for, an anonymous gift. So that should be done. At least it's in the works, and if something changes, then yeah, because that fence isn't the prettiest. It'll look real nice when when he gets it done, if, but I haven't called him back and hounded him on the accept gift that he's given, so. But as far as I know, he gave it a down payment,
Okay.
so. So then, if we go back to general services. The next big one that has a cutout is the recreation department, and that is starting on the same page as the cemetery. Mm. I wish I could tell you exactly what's gonna happen with Grevin Field, which drives a little bit of this. And when it comes to like field maintenance and stuff, field maintenance will drop down quite a bit because it's not gonna be what it was, from 4,500 to 500, but it may still need a mowed section. But I think this one probably has a broader discussion.
Yeah.
And it's currently up just under 2,000.
Well, I kind of hate to be the one to ask, but I want to do it. Why do we need a recreation director?
That's a good question.
And what do they do?
Currently, they're doing a lot of in school. And working with the schools. I've talked with the director last year a couple different times. Thinking that the vision for a rec director in my mind is community events. Not just working with school kids for their school sports programs. So when it comes to, do we need a rec director? I think it more boils down to what do we want out of the rec director. One thing I don't think the rec director has, that I've ever seen, is a defined job description of this is what we want you to do. Whether it's, we want you to take care of whatever it is, stuff on the green, people want to do stuff, that type of thing. Or, we want at least one community style event for adults, a month or something. talked to her about it, but it's not written down. So I think the big discussion is, do we need it? And if we do, how do we make it what we want it to be? And if we do, say, yep, we need it, because to be honest, I mean, if they're doing all those community events like that, not just in the schools, I think it's well worth the budgeted amount. But without that aspect of it, it's hard to keep moving forward with it.
My personal opinion is if it's something that's not needed, we should allocate that money towards law enforcement. It would be a good start to up that budget, but that's just my opinion. I don't personally see where this person does that much for the community and stuff. I mean, I don't know about the school. I'm not in the school, so it's hard to say, but
Well, I can. vouch for the fact that the director does a lot of work, and there's probably a lot of things that aren't like public knowledge. That being said, this was all fine and well when Cavendish was run by Cavendish, but it's not. It's run by the SU now, so they're getting this for free from us.
Right.
Yeah.
This rubs me the wrong way, much like the town library. We're paying for it, and yet they tell us when we can and can't use it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so. I would have a conversation with Julie Hance to see how much Matt's still doing for the school. Mr. McCarthy, who
Mhm.
I'm assuming is still the director down in Shelter. And I know he was still doing a lot for the school, but I don't know if they're changing their pact on that. Now, when Perry first got this job, he and Matt did a lot of things, like took us to games up at Dartmouth, hockey and basketball. They'd get a bus and take everybody up. I went several times with the girls in Mercury, and we went up with the Janoos and had a great time.
Mhm.
We went up for my birthday one time, and they got me out on the ice to do a challenge thing. And I almost ended up winning like tacos for everybody in the section I was in. Which had them all scared because they said nobody ever came that close. But I would find out, but basically the supervisory union's getting this for free. Will it, if we shift it, will it cost us more? I don't know. Or would there be like one director for all the elementary school? But, there's the two of them in the district, but in the SU, there's four of them. So is that somebody they hire and it gets split amongst everybody in the district and they coordinate all the games for the kids? Rather than, us doing it, and Ludlow has their own rec director.
Mhm.
Mr. Mealy, I believe.
Yep.
So you may want to talk to your counterpart in Ludlow, although she's still kind of new and getting her feet wet and not knowing a whole lot. Not, no, that came out wrong. Not just being caught up on everything.
Right. I've talked to Brennan before in the past on this as well. And that was one of the things I talked to the rec director actually it was this time last year, budget season was, I mentioned Dartmouth hockey games, putting those together. Those are the types of things we kind of want to
But
see.
Matt also has the pool that he takes care of and things like that. So
Right.
there's a little bit more on him down there
Mhm.
than on us or Mr. Mealy up in Ludlow. I mean, he probably runs the softball field and stuff all summer long and directs that, but we don't have that so much here. And I don't know how much interest there'd be if the town, if we offered things like volleyball stuff,
Mhm.
If there was a pit somewhere where we could play volleyball. And everybody could show up and play.
Those are the types of things you would want to see.
Yeah.
And even if,
Trips to Dartmouth and,
right,
you know, renting. a coach
Bringing
truck,
back ice
everybody
skating
pays.
rinks for
Ice skating.
everybody, things like that.
Cause their games aren't like overwhelmingly full. We've gone to basketball games and still plenty of room, so I'm
Yeah.
sure she could get a deal on tickets and stuff. At least then we get up there and we can make some
It's pretty
noise.
cheap to
Yeah.
go. To go for.
And that didn't happen like all the time, but it happened several times. I remember
Right.
going up. And it was Matt and Terry who coordinated the whole thing. Well,
I know you've been talking about like the big parade coming up and things like that too, like
those types of things.
those types of things are
Rec director
community.
should really be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I mean, we have to talk about it for budget, no matter what reasonings, but if. If it was to remain in the budget, I think it's a bigger conversation that we have. Going forward on what we want to see out of recreation. If it's left in the budget to begin. Right,
right, but the hiring of reps and the coordination of all that, and umpires and everything else, and you end up stepping in when somebody doesn't show up and things like that. So I'm sure there's plenty that she does that we don't see because we don't have school age kids,
exactly,
but
but you're right, the school is getting.
You know, but nothing.
and I don't know if it's just, it'll all be a wash, so why bother? Because Chester's almost in the same boat, but Ludlow Mount Holly is. I think Nick does both towns.
I think so.
But they are in a more unique situation. They do have Dorsey Park and they have the community center and I
Right.
said Chester has the pool and like.
They
Well,
have
we
such
had
a-
something, so we know it in,
Yeah,
And we will have in the future, we just don't know what that exactly looks like either.
right,
Um,
I'm not adverse to having her. But does she write up something for the town report?
She has, yep.
Okay, so just making sure she does that, she kind of comforts herself. Would be a good idea.
I made it pretty clear to her last budget season when I talked to her that if there's a good chance that there is no rec department if we don't start doing some of these things. But that was verbal, like I said, we did not write in all, in the select board and myself agree on some sort of job description that we want, looking for this. Which if we keep in the budget, I think that's one of the first
Okay.
conversations.
Sometimes.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
We can hold on this and then look at it again and then make a decision if we want to keep it or. I do review date, though. We're going to do away with it, should go towards law enforcement.
so next on the back as well is transfer station. That is slightly down $2,000. I think that's on the third to last page.
Yeah.
That little bit of savings, is recycling compactor hauling. I think it was a little high last year, but. And then everything else pretty much is remaining the same.
I see that you don't have anything for on-site bathroom rental.
Well, we used to, but we have. If you look at site improvement and maintenance,
Hmm.
that went up to 2,200. The same year that we took out the bathrooms. So it's coming out of the one
Okay.
line,
And I know we had talked about improvements up there, so.
which is another really good use for the community development fund money that we just put there, is to at least begin the study on putting in some sort of real water and real bathroom down there.
And wasn't there a need for internet up there too? Was that something that was required?
Now there's a phone now.
A phone.
There wasn't a phone before.
Okay,
And there was actually,
I knew there was something.
but there's no cell service and no phone. We have a phone.
Okay.
But actually, it just didn't, there was kind of a phone there before, but now we have their own dedicated line. Yeah. So, which I don't know how we did that without, still a 911 number, but we got it now. But yeah, I didn't budget for the study or the RFP for doing bathrooms because I figured we could possibly use that because that was one of the things that was listed at as the ARPA that just didn't happen. And it would be tricky. It would need its own personal pump station or a holding tank that we would have to have pumped out. There's, I know it's right next to it, but it would have to pump it there. And when we get there, I think we'd find it'd be better off to pump it full time instead of,
You'd have to pump up, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be, yeah.
yep. So, and those.
You don't wanna be there if that breaks and, yeah, no. I think they'd be better off with a tank that gets emptied out on a regular.
That's what
basis.
Springfield did, actually, did
Yeah.
that there. As long as nobody forgets to turn the water off, then you're pumping it, quickly. So yeah, that was down around $2,000.
Huh.
Everything else is pretty. The next one is the sheriff office services. I think we need a discussion on that 31,200. That's based off 8 hours per week. And I talked to the sheriff here. That just came the other day and, even Reading is doing 10 hours a week. Where we're doing 8. Weathersfield, they're doing a lot. But they came off a $550,000 budget that they had budgeted for 2 officers.
Mhm.
And now they have 24/7 coverage through the sheriff, I think for less. Or maybe it's not 24/7, but I mean, they have the same or better, or more coverage. But it's based off $75 an hour. And even the sheriff is like, really 8 hours is. It's not great for them either, because they don't feel like they make that difference. If they had one arrest that by the time you go through all their hours of doing anything and going to court, you've almost used up 2 weeks of your time. But that 31,200 is a placeholder as last year's 8 hours.
So if they have to go to court for somebody they arrest in Cavendish, that time comes off their time that they spend here
Trolling,
patrolling.
it sounded like it, but that did not come from the sheriff. That came from the deputy. But they also said they continually go over on hours. They don't, it's not like they say Reading has 10 hours, but we had an arrest and we did 15. We're not doing any next week. They still come back and kind of eat those hours is what he was telling me. But again, that's from the deputy, not from the sheriff.
And what are they required to do when they're working in town? Because the only thing I've ever seen them do is sitting somewhere with radar set up or whatever. You don't ever see them go to any types of calls or anything there in town.
they'll go to calls when we call them, and I ask each to call the sheriff when they have an issue. But yeah, most of the time they're patrolling. Cause they don't get a lot of call, you know, but like after hours emergency calls and stuff. That's not part of that usually either. That's usually the Vermont State Police, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's a disconnect between the sheriff, Vermont State Police and towns on how that all works. I mean, state police is our taxes, you know, state taxes as well, and they're understaffed. I mean,
I was gonna say, but there's, you know, 5 of them in the whole state.
right, they're very, very understaffed, so they can't cover as well on those types of things either. I know when the sheriff came in a couple of years ago, it is pricey. I mean, he gave us a number of 24/7 coverage, and it was just north of 500,000. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He did everything from 5 hours to, you know, full time. That, at that point, that's still cheaper than having your own police department, to be honest. By the time you get all the insurance, everything else, you don't want that burden on a town usually. We're just kind of figure out what we need for coverage. Because when I talked to him the other day, he does spend a lot of time down with speeding people at the school. He parks there a lot. And then, you know, over here, we have called him in before, you know, with the parking on the green. So then they would do a few of their hours earlier in the morning where nobody'd even see them because they needed to be here before our parking ban was up during the day.
And didn't the Ludlow chief come talk to us about,
He did,
have we ever followed up with that, or has he ever followed up? with
he
that?
hasn't followed up back, if you do the math, you know, that's a three-year grant, which would be a lot more money, right? I mean, even he said it last year, if you're looking to change or have save any money, by no means is this the way to go. Because by the 4th year, when you get that grant, you have to cover, the town has to cover that police officer fully, full time. And I haven't heard back from, I didn't reach back out to him either. I'm sure now that he's got a year under his belt, he might see those need and say, that's, you know, and when you share an officer with Ludlow, I mean, it's who gets first service? That was one of the questions we had last year. What happens if somebody's sick and you need to cover somebody? Do you pull the Cavendish? No. I guess that same could be said for, you know, sheriff's office too, but that was in the hundreds of thousands. And I can't fault the sheriff that they're not around much when we don't pay them to be around much either.
I would like to see something done for, I don't know if you want to bring him back here and talk to us again,
The sheriff
or
and either both.
Ludlow, or both. I do know that he got in Ludlow a grant for that. He did get one of those grants for an extra officer. But I don't know.
Yeah, wasn't it? We also had to buy a car and all the equipment.
It would have to be our grant. I think he was going for one anyways, and then we would have to get one individually for here. I found it a little confusing on if we got the grant, then the equipment, and then covering for the insurance, because then you have
Your own.
your own police department. And it's gonna be quite pricey. But I'll get in touch with him again though.
Even if it's not full time, to get either one of them to cover more hours.
Well, I've seen up north where towns will contract kind of like the ambulance contracts with us too. And last year he wasn't really interested in that. But maybe this year. And, you know, if we could get quotes from the both of them on a certain amount of hours. I mean, know if, I don't believe Ludlow is back to 24/7 coverage there, or are they? They are back to 24/7.
They have been since he took,
Good.
took the chief's office.
They have two on all the time.
So that's one thing that the sheriff really isn't gonna do. They're not gonna do 24/7 coverage.
The other thing you should look at is, as we start talking about this, every $20,000 we raise the budget. How many cents is that? Something like that. Just
Right.
don't put a number. If we raise the budget $50,000, we add another $50,000 or another $10,000, it'll raise taxes this much.
You're basically
Cause right now you said about
four,
4 cents.
3.3 cents. So, and that's off of 4.42%.
Percent,
So every $25,000 is another percent.
but it's less than a penny.
Yeah.
So I'm just
For
saying,
25,000, but I mean,
right now, the budget looks pretty good. And if we go to town and say, listen, if we do this, we can have even more coverage, and right now, it'll only raise it a couple of pennies. And if we have that conversation with them before they see the school budget, we'll be all set.
Yeah.
well, these are the things that I think people really understand. And to be honest, with Ludlow so close to us, they can offer quick service as well. If they're even interested in doing some sort of
Yeah,
thing like that. And if we could, end up paying for some of their officer help and bringing an income for
But
them.
Weathersfield doesn't.
They might be, now that he's got a
I
year
think
under his
they're-
belt and said,
Sure.
really sees the numbers.
even if it was just in an emergency,
Right.
uh,
RX would be good.
stuff like that.
We could have used one last week, probably. It was close, but they refused. When I called dispatch, that's where they were. They refused to send the trooper. We're gonna wait till the ambulance calls. Because of those two kids, which we're already there, we already got eyes on. They would not. They told dispatch, no, we're not gonna come.
That was a state trooper.
State troopers, yep. They do that all the time to us. We're not coming.
Has Chester ever been talked to, or aren't they interested at all?
I haven't talked to them, actually. I just figured they were a good distance away.
Yeah.
Now, the guy that's
Depends what end of Cavendish you're on.
the sheriff now that's patrolling, he does Reading and Weathersfield, and us currently. So during his working, he's pretty much in the area. But Weathersfield's pretty big. I mean, be further away than Chester, so. But yeah, I'll talk to them both, see if we can get, better numbers, and hopefully, Ludlow might be interested in doing some sort of contract with us.
And like I say, even if it was just emergencies, if their offices weren't busy, they come here. I know they have a couple of times or anyways, but if we had more of a understanding of what that would entail and what that looked like. Even if they just came to be there till the state police got there,
Right,
like that night we
It's
ended
an
up
hour.
down here by the green with that house that has
right.
all the
Yeah.
gentlemen and ladies, and one of them decided to smack around his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and she laughed, and we had to go out looking for her and things like that, so. I mean, they eventually showed up, and there was 5 of them,
Yeah, eventually,
so
after they said they weren't coming.
that worked out, but still it'd been nice if there were a couple officers there from the beginning.
So for me, for the next meeting, just so I can put a number in here, if I get numbers back from both. Well, I know what the sheriff department number is, but if I get one back from Ludlow, is there a certain hour of service more that we're kind of thinking? Let's see,
Well, the sheriff's at 31 now.
Yep, and that's based off of 8 hours a week.
Right.
$75 an hour.
You said 25 is a penny? Roughly? No, it's a percentage,
yeah,
which is less than,
which is less, yeah,
so even if you doubled it, you're still around only a penny.
probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Give or
nobody
take.
talked to us about that grant. You get us a price.
And that would double their time here.
And I feel like 16 hours a week it'd be much more noticeable, for sure.
Mhm.
You know, it's only a couple hours a day, that's if they spread it out every day, but if they don't,
Right.
Yeah, like even like during ski season, if it was more on Fridays or,
and if he was
And that's where
smart,
it would be difficult with Ludlow.
yeah,
When
yeah,
when
because they're
Ludlow gets
busy.
25,000 people in it,
Mhm.
yeah.
they don't want to come down
Right.
here, but.
Right. And the other thing is, with the sheriff, he was smart, and he'd say, well, we're gonna do 2 or 3 days here, 2 or 3 days here, 2 or 3, but we're gonna rotate it.
Right,
So it's not the same 2 or 3 days every week, so nobody gets used to when we're around. And then emergencies happen and, yeah.
yeah,
So even if we double it, it's just basically a penny. So let's talk to him about that.
yeah.
And then talk to the chief from Ludlow and see what he thinks and.
I think it's a great scenario if they're able and they're set up to do it to subsidize their police department and we get a great service. But I don't know how they're set up, if it's if they can do that or not. But I mean. Seems like a win-win, but. Maybe I'm just looking at it from our side.
Yeah, and it's not like we're asking them to do it for free either.
Right, right,
Or if you wanted to, that'd be great.
That would help.
right, right.
You could bring it up with them. It hurt to
I
ask.
want the rest of the email read, so I'll put that to the very end. Everything else there is pretty standard.
Yeah.
For the rest of that page. Mhm. Make sure we make it through. On solar project expense, you can see that that's where I was talking before. I didn't budget correctly or, for what we actually used for electric, but when I did the total numbers for the year, it is paying for itself. And now that we have the actual recs coming in, that money goes towards any maintenance. That's what that's supposed to do. And it is coming in. It's working as intended at the moment. So hopefully we can build that up before we have any maintenance expenses on that. Which we just put a lot of money into it, so I don't see that. Unfortunately, you get a 10-year warranty on those inverters, which we just replaced one under warranty, but the warranty's out. So I don't know what the cost of those, because the last one was warranted, but let's hope they last a little while longer. Everything else is pretty standard. I mean, you got the mowing contract. I have done that with Dan Rose has been doing it for quite a while. I've had this issue in Springfield when you go out to bid, the people that are doing it stop bidding, somebody undercuts them. And then the next year they double their prices and that guy doesn't do it anymore. I don't think it's unreasonable for what Dan does, so. But it's down a little bit, and of course, like I said, last year, we didn't have to mow as much. into appropriations. So under local, you can see the two yellow lines, well, Jen can't, but added two lines, just because I would assume we're gonna have some expenses there. One is the 250th celebration, I only put $500 in. Maybe we decide to do some sort of barbecue, buying me, something. It's not a lot of money, but it's something. And then, of course, the emergency shelter, which, to be honest, surprises me that we've never given an appropriation to the shelter that's run, at the Baptist church. We've never given them anything. And they're open quite often, even non-emergency, well, wintertime and really cold weather, they're actually open 24/7 anyways, I think. We'll take people to their church, but I feel like an appropriation versus a line item on expenditures is a little better or more appropriate, because then they don't have to run to us and ask us if they can buy this during an emergency, And that's a token of $500. Nothing's been there before. So both of those I put in $500. Obviously that's adding, so I'm definitely up for discussion. I just. Really thought we should on both of those. We always have Memorial Day in here and other stuff. So, great. But I don't have any plans for that $500 for the 250th celebration yet. That's not in stone, but I'm sure there's gonna be some expenses. Any thought on the emergency shelter?
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I know that they definitely are looking for some help.
And $500,
That's fine, we can ask them if they think they need more at some point.
well, we're gonna do use it, so.
they do a lot, and it's set up well and run well.
And if something
And
happens,
I didn't even tell them I was putting this in there, so I haven't talked to them if they didn't ask for the 500, It's been mentioned over the years, but I can ask them.
if something happened again,
Yeah.
I doubt we'd be able to use a school like we did last time.
Right. So that was really the only $1,000 increase in that section. Total $1,000 increase. External, the ones highlighted in yellow came in after the deadline. One that's not on this budget because they got voted on last year, but we have another request was the Okemo Valley Technical Rescue. I don't believe it's even on here.
No, it's not.
But that went to the budget last year. It's right here.
From Mason anyone?
Yeah,
Oh,
1 hour and 5 minutes ago.
okay.
So-
Yeah,
But on the Red Cross came in late, the Vermont Center for Independent Living requested 100. Now I want to talk a little bit about Black River Senior Center as well. They do the Meals on Wheels now.
In Cavendish again?
Yes. See,
Okay.
that was the issue.
Yep.
And I guess they did last year too. Which is a lot of money. So me just digging through past stuff, it looks like we went from the senior solutions, we went from like $350 a year to $1,900 a year. The same year that we did not give with the Black River Senior Center, because I believe the senior solutions took over the Meals on Wheels. Senior Solutions still has Meals on Wheels in their request, but working with Black River Good Neighbors or Black River Senior Center, who is going to deliver them. So it's rather confusing on who's really doing that, but we still got a request for the same amount from Senior Solutions as they had in the past.
So Senior Solutions is 500 or 3,000?
Senior Solutions, they requesting 2,000. Last, we've been giving them 1,900. But Black River Senior Center, we haven't given them anything since Senior Solutions took over for the Meals on Wheels. But this year they're requesting 3,000 because they're actually the ones doing the Meals on Wheels. Senior Solutions has in there that they work to help secure funding and stuff for Meals on Wheels. And then, but Black River Senior Center is the one that actually is doing it. I haven't got clarification on that. On why, to me, and I've had conversations with Black River Senior Center because they were upset that we're not, giving them an appropriation. I was like, well, we gave it to somebody else to do the exact same thing. And now they're still asking for the same amount of money. But you're doing it, so. Yeah, so I just, and it came in late anyways, and I let these guys know that there's, when stuff sometimes comes in, it very well could go to the voters, not put in the budget. But I think they did 1,300 meals last year to Cavendish residents. Average cost per meal around $15, just under about 19,500. But federal leave, they get reimbursed $6.50 a meal. But
Should I make a speech that we usually hear about this?
Nope.
He's just not here.
just so it's on record. Yeah,
We have a deadline for a reason. They handed in after the deadline.
Needs to go to the voters.
so that would put American Red Cross, Vermont Center for Independent Living at $100. And Black River Senior Center and the Okima Valley Technical Rescue to the voters.
Are they each separate? Yeah.
Should be anyways.
Right. And again, on my personal note, the fact that we're giving away. And I know it's all for good causes, but the fact that we're giving away almost $100,000 of taxpayers' money. And I know they can come to these meetings and have input, and they choose mostly not to, but.
The external appropriations are right around, well, with the 25, about 17,000, 16,600. But yeah, you're right, you add in the library and the ones we talked about before, the Historical Society and then those, you start adding up.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah,
You're right, sorry.
that 75 is for internal and
Yeah,
external.
But-
That's
And
That's an awfully big ballot.
do we
vote.
do we get any money for the library from the school?
They do. We don't. We just give the 56. I guess we should have went through their budget as well. We can do that after. They're trying to secure funding for the school as well.
Okay.
So I think it's the
It's the last one.
very last page is
Yeah, it is.
the library. So our portion is the same as last year at $56,000 is what that they have a budgeted for appropriation. I believe, I don't know why the school's not in there.
Well, they're not showing their revenue, that's.
Yeah, that's just expenses.
So the net expense would be the school?
No, I don't believe total. But they request an appropriation from the school as well.
Okay.
But I don't believe it's the total net expense. I think it's close, but
Mm,
we can put those,
yeah,
all of them.
The precedent that we
For
set.
the $100, I mean, I guess we do one, we do them all.
yeah, the precedent we said is it goes before the voters. because
And I let-
it's late.
When they talked to me and I said, we need to send a letter requesting it, I gave them the heads up that more than likely, it's gonna go to the voters because of the time frame. We just have never really wavered on that since I've been here. So I don't know if you ever had in the past, but I haven't seen you guys waver on that, so. And I do know some towns, to every single one of them on a ballot, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Now, I know in the past as well, we have level funded some of these other ones. What I have in the proposed is what they asked. I will say in the Black River Good Neighbors, they asked for 2,000, we've been giving them 1,000 in the past, no matter what they asked. I think the same as Council on the Aging is different too. I just know last year we decided to give what was done the previous year.
yeah, they're all feeling the same thing we're feeling.
Yes,
And I know that the Black River Good Neighbors does the community lunches and they've increased the number that they're doing.
Yep.
So,
They all do great work.
they all do.
It's just,
But it's,
until I guess somebody stands up at town meeting and says, we need to review how we're doing this. We just go with what we've always done, and I'm okay with that, even though I have read the lottery.
so we'll put all those. Then give this to you, Jen. Fill in a copy, unless you want me to try to remember making a copy tomorrow. Here, take it, that good idea.
If we put it on the ballot or in town meeting, if we say Black River Senior Center is asking for this, do we put why?
I think so, because that came in their request.
Okay,
Um,
because that to me would be at least be honest, because
Yeah.
they do a number of services for our seniors, and this is including.
Yeah.
But not limited to,
They have a report that's also good that goes in the town report.
but still, people are reading it when they're voting.
The question on the ballot is pretty cut and dry.
Right, okay.
You don't really have space to do much explanation.
Right. Mhm. I feel like we can, well, we'll at least talk about it during
Right,
the town meeting, because it'll be on the.
Yeah.
But you know, this one line here, provided that the town of Cavendish commits to an appropriation of Meals on Wheels, the Black River Red will agree to deliver meals in 25-26. That makes it sound like if we don't, it's not happening. So that's just wording on a letter. That doesn't, I don't know what that.
Right, but still, the fact that we have people that need that,
Yep,
so.
yep, absolutely. Looks like. Now we're under the garage. I guess that line kind of got cut off the top, and that's what next page is the garage electric and. You can see that the electric there is up $1,000. These are just me trying to get the bills correct. Then, uniforms are up, but they're not up. I mean, that's cost. These, just so everybody's aware, these year to date on the 25-26 is through November, so it's actually 5 months. It's not a full 6 months.
Yeah.
And when we get into equipment, pricey. So let's see, gas and oil, we went down a little bit. I anticipated using a lot of gas in that blower, and I guess we saved a little money and didn't go through as much. Diesel. I guess we'll just hope on that one. We just never know where that's gonna fall. But that's right around pretty typical what we've been using. It's 50,000. Hydraulic hose and fitting, you know, we talked about that. That's gonna go down to just replacements now, and we've used that pretty handily in the last few months already. So that has been a great purchase. Almost, we need a lot of tires. You'll see truck one. It's gonna need tires. That's why we went from 500 to 5,000. Truck two, the maintenance has gone up. This doesn't include this 1477 doesn't include quite a bit that we put into this in the last month or so. Truck two is also gonna need tires. Truck three maintenance is staying about the same, or right at the same amount. Which truck three also needs tires. I think I missed us.
I'm gonna say truck four maintenance is, unless you're planning on driving it off a cliff.
It looks like I missed truck four maintenance. That thing costs us a fortune. It's $140,000 truck that's costing us 35 to 40,000 a year in maintenance. I have tried to get prices on a new one. I thought I was gonna come to the board this fall with one. Other towns are looking too, and it's when one pops up, somebody with cash on hand gets it a little faster than we do. It's the smallest of our trucks. It's not it's $140,000 truck. I thought and toyed with the idea of going bigger F550s. I think Ludlow did that. I don't think it worked out very well for them over these. It's just a beefier truck, even though it's kind of rated the same, it's not really the same. Hoping to get a low interest 2% loan through the state this spring or to purchase one. They only do 75% of the cost of the vehicle. We didn't have that money left over in the equipment fund to do that last year. We should have coming up this year to cover the difference, which will, save us quite a bit on, financing. But the truck's gonna be available too. But I believe I need to put, that needs to be changed to, I think it was supposed to be 20,000, not $2,000. Proofreading goes a long ways. Sorry about that. But it also needs tires for $3,000. Which. Same with the utility truck is gonna need tires as well. I hope that's all it's gonna need. Cause it is out of commission with current. The grader, we added a little bit more to, it's just getting older, we need to start doing a little bit of work on that. It doesn't need tires. The reason there's $1,500 in there is in case we cut one tire, that covers the cost of one tire. The loader, I raised that a little bit, of course, as it starts to age. It doesn't need tires either, but that will cover one tire, that loader, if we pop one. And then, of course, cutting edges, we will need those. Backhoe, we bought tires for that, were pretty good. That 500 is in case we pop one. Yes, yes. But the excavator needs some repairs. And there, for what that excavator does and how well it's maintained, these repairs are, it needs a little bit of maybe, track work. Or running gear, I guess, type. It's gonna be about 15,000. It currently needs about $15,000 to $17,000 of work on the boom. But we might have to squeeze that in this year's budget because it's really not operational until we do. We got a good quote on it to just tighten it up, but it's got so much slop in it now, the bucket could fall off if we're using it, so. But to be honest, with those repairs, it's still an excellent machine and not really what I would think we need to replace right off. Trackless, sooner or later, that's gonna need some, some repairs. But that's gonna be a game time decision on if it's a lot of money. I don't know if you pay that money for that thing. But we'd have to come up with something, it's $170,000 piece of equipment that barely gets used by plowing sidewalks, so. And the sweeper on it. But currently it runs fine. Big one on the Case tractor. Last year, it's the mowing deck when it comes to attachment and parts. Foolish me thought $7,500 we could have that mower worked on. It's past that point, can't get worked on. We got a quote for just the head of the mower, and then we'd have to do some work on bushings on the boom of it. But just the head of that mower is $25,000, and we can't currently mow with the one we have. At all. It's too dangerous. At one point, that mower went from 3 smaller blades to bigger blades that go on a brush hog and sitting out. It's not right. It was kind of made that way. You need a new mower deck. But it'd save us a lot of money keeping the old boom and just putting that new deck on. But that's a big expense. tried to get a little better on the, the side dumps and chains. We've been spending quite a bit. I didn't even realize that each one of those trucks usually lasts about 2 years before they need a rebuild. It's kind of why we've been over on that. Because every year, at least 2 of them need it done. And that's how Fawn's been trying to operate it. It's 2 1 year and then 2 the following year. So that went up a little bit. One of another big change in this budget is the equipment capital fund. Now, you can see it's a weird, 132,725. Our loader payment was 32,725. And that used to be in the budget under financials in the back. Our last payment on that loader is this spring. So I transferred that 32,725 into the equipment capital fund. That wasn't part of the capital plan we just did. It doesn't hurt, I mean, by any means, because if you remember, when that capital plan, we were gonna have to try to start taking some money from paving, moving it to equipment to try to replace some of this equipment a little bit faster. So that's just kind of a 1-for-1. That loader no longer have a payment. It is just going into the capital now versus being an expense out of a different part of the budget. Because it's paid for. So definitely want to have a discussion on that one, what you want to see. With that, we want, the full amount in there, you want to, does it want to be lowered just a little bit or just a full savings? I don't know. But we have a lot of old equipment and it would be put to good use, that amount of money.
Right there.
And it gets us that much further ahead on our document anyways, in capital planning. You can see the new line item, equipment rental. Actually, I don't think it was new. I hadn't put anything into it. Last year, we ended up renting a mini for a week excavator, rubber tracks. We had work we had to do on Quinn Phelan Road after we paved it. Not gonna get on it with real tracks. But then we used it all over where we needed it throughout town, and it was well worth $1,100 expense. So there's a pretty good chance that we can easily come up with a week's worth of projects of a rental like that. So I budgeted this year for that 15. That's it for those, but I do wanna, if everybody's good with that, I can move to something else.
Okay, yeah.
No, I guess I should have mentioned that chainsaw replacements went up 500. That is actually a cost for 2 more electric chainsaws. Those electric chainsaws. Almost every state vehicle now has them too, probably Ludlow too. In their vehicles. And so when they're out plowing, you're not gonna do any logging, they're not gonna do the big work with them. But to cut branches out of the road so they can continue on without going and getting the gas and the chainsaw, well worth it. We bought 2 this year, we're hoping to get 2 more. Because currently 2 of the guys are bringing theirs from home and the 2 new ones, the lucky people get, but. So moving on to summer roads, you can
So,
see
but the subtotal there should be
1,000.
369. It was 20,
correct.
or really 18, not 69, 67. Because you're going up,
Going up
18.
18, yeah.
Mhm.
So, some of those.
Summer roads, you can see wages are different. I wanted to do this year, last year, and the year before, just there wasn't. The wages had overtime and everything else built into them. They weren't correct. Somebody reading this is just looking at that going, that's crazy. So now these wages for summer roads for all employees is their actual wages with a new line of overtime, which hasn't been in there before. Because before overtime was just built
Mhm.
into their wages and. So it didn't change much. I mean, it just made it more correct, I guess is what. I'm gonna look for any other. Bigger expenses on that. I mean, gravel is expensive. We're gonna crush again next year. Which is usually around $80,000 for 10,000 yards. That extra 20 is buying us the bigger ditch stone and the other stone that we need that we don't get from crushing. We do have, we went through most of that 10,000 yards. We saved some for spring. But they put out a lot of gravel last year. And this is mixing in what we took out of the river. We still are hauling from the town pit down here, mixing it, all together.
It made a big difference. It was awesome.
And some of the roads have made a huge difference on. And we can keep the trucks running long enough so they can haul gravel to them versus having one truck haul gravel to the grader. It's even better. This I also put in assuming the resurfacing stays at 250. Conversation for coming up on which roads we're thinking about. And that pretty much sums up that summer. Now, winter roads, I did the same thing with the salary, but as you can see, the overtime's a little bit different. And of course, the seasonal employee is a little bit different because, we do pay somebody for doing the sidewalks for that. It is one of our current employees for the water and sewer department, but should be paid out of taxes, which is there. But yeah, the overtime and these numbers are basically I used for overtime, and Jen printed me out what we spent in overtime last full year. And then adding a little bit, obviously for any cost of living increase. But that's what we spend on overtime. Sand went up quite a bit. As you can see, when we went out to bid this year, prices were a little higher than anticipated. But everybody was right there about as close as you could be. That 104,000, that was 4,000 yards of material. We've gone through quite a bit of it already. We kind of have a game plan if we need to. But that's 4,000 yards of material. And I did this budget with Fawn as well with his input. And that's pretty much 4,000 is what he gets pretty much every year. And that's the cost. Well, the cost was 104, and I don't think it's going to go down. And then salt is the same way. Salt has gone up quite a bit.
Do we put a camera over there to see who's taking the sand?
Good. I don't know if anybody is.
Cause then you have to put up a sign saying,
Yeah,
this is for residents, not for,
well, that one they put up a bucket every once in a while. But sand down below, yeah, I don't think anybody's digging into that one. So it'd be kind of scary. But yeah, a lot of people do get the upper one. We could put up a sign.
I thought we had one for a while.
Actually, I think it does. No, I think it might just say public.
But there was one that said, those of you who are plowing. This isn't
I'll
for
have to
you.
look. I don't think it's, if we did, I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's not there. I just might not have paid attention. Mhm.
But you put a sign like that up, you can't enforce it.
Right. But I don't know of any that is doing that, so.
Maybe it was when Brendan was here. But we had people coming down who were like getting money to plow driveways and loading up their,
Sand with our sand,
yeah, their sand with our sand and then plowing and then backing in and sanding, but they were using our sand and they were charging people for it.
great business plan, I guess. Yeah, but
It's called stealing.
yeah, right. I haven't heard that we're having that problem.
Okay.
But I'll ask Juan about it, because I didn't even know that was really an issue. And everything else is still the sidewalks and structures on here of adding to that fund. Which sidewalks would be great. Pretty much. Well, it's on my page. Well, I think we're gonna make it in that 2 hour time frame. I keep looking, they go, oh, so we're gonna make it. I did budget for lead man differential. They don't use it. I don't know if they ever will. But they should. When Fawn's gone on a week's vacation, one of those guys who all of a sudden I have to text all the time because he's the one doing it. But I don't know if they're gonna put in for it, but it should be in the budget at least. Because I believe they should.
Yeah, she's put it in form.
Ah, I don't want to go that far. This stuff is all pretty much. Professional services is not the same. That's jumped up quite a bit. The reason being, we put that in last year thinking we were gonna go out for finance help. With a new town treasurer coming in, I think that's gonna be needed to jump that up. I don't know, what we don't know is if that money would be used to help or
Supplement.
to hire, to supplement. I don't know.
You need with it here to fall back on, just in case.
But you definitely need something there. And I don't even see that, I mean, if we have a separate treasurer clerk. And it's, a treasurer decides to come in and part-time. You might even be able to cover wages with that. We don't know where we're at with that. But you need something for sure. And that's why I didn't put it in as town treasurer. Okay, I didn't. I don't want to leave it open. Well, if we need it for.
Okay.
But that's why it jumped so much. Everything else is pretty standard, not much we due on. We hadn't been budgeted for the childcare contribution, but that is now in here. And actually budgeted for. That's kind of new. The ones that are in yellow here is I just used last year's numbers as placeholders. I don't have the definite numbers, but they're not gonna change that drastically on these. I don't believe. Health insurance is, that's in white because we know that. It did go up this year. I think last year I made a mistake and I included water and sewer guys in the budget, which they are not in the budget, that, you know, that's why our health insurance went down, a little bit. But it's also why it crazy last year. As you can see down at the bottom, the equipment lease, that's where that was, the 32,725, which is no longer there. That is then the equipment funds. And that 38,130 is off of keeping the garage note as the 5.75. I guessed right on that one. So,
I have to depart for work, so
okay,
you guys have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
In the news,
Yeah, well. Before that, right?
maybe.
I'm assuming I'll see you at some point over the next several days.
No, that's. We made it. That's pretty much.
Maybe
But the grand total is
is at
2581.
Well. I will.
because you
throw
raised
that in
it.
here, right? Well,
Because of the 18.
yeah, but. There's also.
Oh, yeah, there was, yeah,
There's $3,600 of that, which will be taken out of this budget. Because it'll be put in to, separate, the external,
mhm.
the late external appropriation.
Is it the
That's
vote
true.
on-
There's a few more adjustments. That we talked about that I need to make.
Yeah.
I can,
So maybe another half cent.
well, I can do it real
Okay.
quick and just not save it, so I don't.
How the guys doing up at the transfer station?
Good, for the moment, I mean. We have. Good.
They seem like it when I'm up there and I talk to them and everything seems
They,
good.
they seem pretty good, you know, I'm gonna be kind of curious on how we come in with token sales, because, you know, they're charging kind of what they should, which was not that fun for them for the first 6, 8 months.
Yeah.
But. So let me just take out, there can,
Well, people need to stop taking advantage of.
right. When people tell them, what do you mean it's $6? I never paid to dump here. Oh, wait a minute, you might have supposed to have. Taking those out, putting in truck. For maintenance, turn that into. Yeah, that was. Would have been scary not to catch that. So I took out those, put in the 20, what else was there? Those are the change. If we added went to 1,000 on furnace maintenance
Yeah,
and then added 15 for cameras.
yeah.
Just pretty, I'm just gonna. Hmm. And then there might be a little bit tightening up on those insurance and retirements at the end, but I don't know how. Mhm. Brings it to 5.53, which is percent.
What's the new total?
Yeah, I'm getting there. 4.2 cents. Instead of 3.3. I hope I quickly did that math all right. Because I'm on camera.
Oh,
Bless you.
thank you.
I mean, that's rough too, because we haven't gone through the revenues. This is
Right.
just, I mean, that's pretty rough.
But what does the computer say the new total is?
2,593,844.
Right. Still, coming in at 4 cents. It's pretty good. People should be happy about that.
Yeah.
So even if we do,
And that's leaving the kid, that was adding 15,000 for the cameras as well.
right,
Mhm.
It doesn't touch the police.
right, so I'm just saying, but even if we do that, we're still at a nickel.
Well. Just out of curiosity. I'm not gonna say any document anyways. Um, Doubling it raise about another 1% or. Just a little, it brings it to a 6.65% increase. That's going from 31.2 to 62.4, just purely doubling it. Yeah. Nickel. 5.05. For a total of 2.625, and we're at 2.45, so 100 and It's 180,000. 170 more. I can tighten all that up, get some good numbers, and that number might even be less than that for the police. If some, somebody comes in $10,000 less for 15 hours a week, that's,
Yeah.
we don't know. I'd really like to hope that Ludlow would give it some serious consideration. But he's got a department to run in a town that. But it's. I think it could be a win-win if we could get it squared away. And if not, the sheriff will they'll do as good of a job as we pay them for,
Mm.
the amount of time.
Yep.
And. I can't fault them for us not giving them enough time, but. If we can get a better deal and better coverage. All for
Alrighty, that it?
it. I didn't put on here to adjourn. Oh, yeah, there it is. Let's see. It's on the agenda to adjourn.
Good, and motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion to
I
adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? None.